When President Barack Obama came to Madison on Wednesday, he did not hold back any punches when it comes to education reform.
We'll look at whether they're willing to remake a school from top to bottom with new leaders and a new way of teaching, replacing a school's principal if it's not working, and at least half the staff, close a school for a time and then reopen it under new management, even shut down the school entirely and send its students to a better school nearby.
He focused on states like Wisconsin that do not allow teachers to be evaluated by student performance. He said that needs to change if they want to compete for $4.5 billion in Race to the Top grants.
It's time to start taking this commitment seriously. We've got to do a better job recruiting and preparing new teachers. We've got to do a better job of rewarding outstanding teachers. And I've got to be honest, we've got to do a better job of moving bad teachers out of the classroom once they've been given an opportunity to do it right.
That kind of tough language actually found support among Republicans in Wisconsin's legislature. They just hope the president does not back down in the end.
The president yesterday and Secretary Duncan in comments long before this has explicitly said no state should have a firewall that exists between the student performance on these exams and teacher evaluations, period.
And Democrats in the legislature have responded to that.
Arnie Duncan came here and called our state ridiculous in that we have statutes that say teachers cannot be evaluated based on student assessment. So we worked with WEAC and the governor's office and the Department of Public Instruction and came up with language that changes that in such a way that we can all live with it and makes us eligible.
That compromise means teachers can be evaluated by student performance, but schools can't fire them because of that alone, and any disciplinary action would have to go through collective bargaining. The Senate passed that measure on Thursday, and the Assembly early Friday morning.
I mean, he specifically talked about bad teachers and how they need to be removed.
That might be going too far for many Wisconsin lawmakers, but those who voted for Thursday's education bills believe it goes far enough to win the Race to the Top funding.
I think the language that we have now is perfectly adequate. I know there are those who would like to go further just because they've always wanted to go further, and I absolutely believe that job protections for our teachers need to be in place. You can imagine a teacher who gets into a classroom with 5 or 6 special ed students or English language learners, and all of a sudden tests are going to determine whether or not she's had a successful year, and next door may be a teacher who has none of that in his classroom, and he might, his test results might turn out far higher. That's not an equal measurement.
So essentially the teachers union has come in, the Madison-based teachers union specifically, has come in and they are completely watering down the reform. Now they will be able to check the box, potentially, under the Race to the Top guidelines, but it remains to be seen because the federal guidance is not out yet from the U.S. Department of Education. And we may be back in a special session having to vote on something that's stronger than what they put in today.
The real competition will begin when states apply for the actual Race to the Top grants. See, they had to make some changes just to even join the race. But now the race starts. And we're going to start seeing even more interesting changes at the local level.
The fact that President Obama and Education Secretary Arnie Duncan chose Madison to talk about Race to the Top makes lawmakers hopeful about Wisconsin's chances.
I think we are a state that, one, has the need to make these changes and is positioned to do so with a little nudging, and we're working very hard to get to that point. To me, it was encouragement to us to keep working and reach that because they would like to see us receive some of these funds. And how much is, the up in the air question with $4.5 billion available.
But the bottom line is the president made clear in his speech that only the states most serious about reform would get any of that money at all.
There's no excuse for mediocrity. And we will take drastic steps when schools aren't working.
If they reward a grant to the state of Wisconsin based on Assembly Bill 533 that is watered down in collective bargaining, those reforms will not happen. If they actually give us the money with that language in there, then it was simply rhetoric, and then I don't believe the president truly meant what he said when he was here. So I'm watching very closely to understand that. And I think the spirit, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and we'll watch what happens. But if this bill goes through and they check that box, and ultimately we receive money, I'll be shaking my head and saying, at the federal level, this is all just a bunch of rhetoric for campaigns and not real reform.
So only time will tell if the president and Wisconsin Republicans are truly on the same page when it comes to education reform. For the MacIver Institute, I'm Bill Osmolsky.